Mexico is undeniably a stunning and diverse country. In 2022, over 38 million international travelers visited the captivating nation to experience its rich culture, exquisite gastronomy, and mariachi music accompanied by shots of tequila. From ancient ruins to enchanting magic towns and breathtaking beaches, Mexico have won the hearts of tourists from every corner of the globe. However, Mexico also harbors a dark side. Throughout its history, a combination of factors, such as its extensive border with the United States, vast plantations of marijuana and opium poppy, and rampant systematic corruption at all levels, has facilitated the growth of powerful drug cartels. These criminal organizations relentlessly battle each other for control over drug routes, territories known as plazas, and other illicit enterprises, including human smuggling, extortion, kidnapping, street drug sales, and gasoline theft. As a result, it comes as no surprise that 9 out of the top 20 most dangerous cities in the world are in Mexico. This grim statistic is based on the murder rate per 100,000 inhabitants. In this Illicit Investigations Countdown, we bring you the list of the 9 most dangerous cities in Mexico. If you plan to visit any of them, make sure to conduct a risk assessment beforehand to minimize the chance of being caught in the crossfire between rival cartels or law enforcement units. Also, avoid interacting with local police officers, as they may be in the payroll of criminal groups. Number 9 in the list is Acapulco. Known as the Pearl of the Pacific, it was once a top luxury destination for the Mexican elite and selected international personalities. From Hollywood stars like Elvis Presley to politicians like Ronald Reagan, this city has historically been a vacation escape for VIP guests. In fact, Donald Trump even spent his honeymoon with his first wife Ivana in Acapulco in 1977. Celebrities such as Michael Jackson, Luis Miguel, and Julio Iglesias have owned mansions in the oceanfront hills of this beautiful coastal city. But Acapulco became an important plaza for the drug cartels, and in the early 2000s, kingpins Arturo Beltran Leyva and Edgar Valdez Villarreal, also known as La Barbie, gained control of the city after a fierce war with the Zetas. In 2009, Beltran Leyva was killed by the Mexican army, and months later, La Barbie was arrested. Since then, an organization called the Independent Cartel of Acapulco have gained control of the city. In the recent years, other criminal groups such as the Sinaloa Cartel, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and a gang called La Barradora have been battling against the Independent Cartel of Acapulco, generating more violence in the city. Acapulco is a receiving point for cocaine coming from South America through maritime routes. It also serves as an important plaza for local drug sales, and given that many wealthy Mexicans visit Acapulco, the city has seen an increase in kidnapping and extortions. Unfortunately, Acapulco has become a hub for child sex tourism, a highly profitable industry in the city. Predators from various parts of the world are drawn to this destination, leading to intense battles among criminal groups competing for control over the human trafficking networks in the area. It is very common in Acapulco for taxi drivers to act as lookouts or spotters, monitoring and reporting what they observe to a specific cartel. The streets of Zacatecas are patrolled by sicarios of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel, the two groups engaged in a deadly battle for dominance over this territory. Zacatecas, the capital city of a state bearing the same name, boasts a splendid Spanish colonial architecture. For centuries, the city has fostered a thriving mining industry, with abundant gold, silver, and lead mines that provide employment for many locals. The city is also strategically positioned in the heart of a crucial drug and human smuggling corridor in Mexico. It serves as a vital link between central Mexico and northern states such as Durango and Coahuila. Consequently, drug cartels have persistently sought control over Zacatecas. Figures like El Mayo Zambada and Nemesio Osaguera Cervantes El Mencho dispatch hundreds of sicarios to the region to establish their dominion. These cartels also impose taxes to local businesses and kidnap those who don't pay. Zacatecas experiences frequent armed confrontations between rival cartels and the Mexican military. In November 2022, General Jose Silvestre Urzúa of the Mexican National Guard met his demise during a violent clash with the criminals. Number 7 on the list is Uruapan, Michoacán, known as the world capital of avocados. This city and its surroundings produce a staggering 300 tons of avocados annually, resulting in approximately $2 billion in revenues. It's no wonder that avocados are often referred to as green gold, as they are primarily exported to the United States, Europe, and Asia. But this industry has attracted the attention of drug cartels for money laundering and extorting local producers. Also, Uruapan is strategically located between the port of Lázaro Cárdenas and Morelia, the capital city of Michoacán. Lázaro Cárdenas is a primary commercial port in Mexico and also a crucial point for drug shipments concealed in cargo containers from South America, as well as the entry point for fentanyl precursors originating from China. Therefore, Uruapan becomes an attractive target for criminals. Currently, the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, Los Viagras, La Familia Michoacana, and Pueblos Unidos are the main rival factions vying for control of the city. As a result, the murder rate is alarmingly high, making it a place not recommended for tourists. This video depicts the moment when hitmen of the Sinaloa cartel indiscriminately opened fire on multiple participants during an annual all-terrain event in Ensenada. 10 individuals were killed, including 3 American citizens. Many others resulted injured, including a minor. According to intelligence reports, this attack was orchestrated by brothers Rene and Alfonso Arzate, who command a faction of the Sinaloa cartel. The primary objective of this assault was to eliminate a leader of the Arellano Felix cartel, which operates in the region in collaboration with the Jalisco New Generation cartel. This escalating conflict has significantly increased the murder rate in Ensenada, a popular tourist destination for Californians. The city also receives permanently cruise ships and cargo vessels. Ensenada is a prominent fishing hub, where fish and seafood warehouses serve also as concealment facilities for drug shipments arriving from South America. Positioned a mere 70 miles south of the U.S. border, Ensenada ranks 6th on the list of Mexico's most dangerous cities. Ranked 5th on the list is Irapuato, a significant hub for textile production in Mexico. However, it is also a city where authorities have uncovered numerous clandestine graves containing hundreds of bags filled with human remains. In Mexico, the number of registered disappearances exceeds 100,000, with a significant portion occurring in the state of Guanajuato. The Jalisco New Generation cartel, led by the ruthless El Mencho, largely dominates the city after a deadly conflict against the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel, whose leader, Jose Antonio Yepes, known as El Maro, is currently incarcerated. In Irapuato, the cartels frequently resort to arson attacks on convenience stores, pharmacies, and other businesses that fail to comply with their extortion demands. But the prized assets for the cartels in this region are the fuel pipelines that traverse near the city, property of the Mexican state-owned oil company Pemex. The cartels engage in fierce battles to seize control of huachicoleo, the fuel theft industry, which amounts to a $3 billion criminal enterprise in Mexico every year. The state of Sonora shares borders with Arizona and New Mexico, making it a primary corridor for northbound drug trafficking into the United States, as well as for the transportation of arms heading southward. Ciudad Obregón is strategically positioned within the smuggling route between Sinaloa and northern Sonora. Additionally, the city is in close proximity to the port of Guaymas, a significant receiving point of precursor chemicals for fentanyl production arriving from China. Sonora also boasts valuable gold and lithium mines, attracting the interest of cartels who engage in extortion within this industry. The primary groups fighting for Ciudad Obregón are the Chapitos, the Sinaloa cartel faction controlled by the sons of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Opposing them is the Caborca cartel, established by veteran kingpin Rafael Caro Quintero, who was apprehended in 2022. Currently, his relative Jose Gil Caro Quintero leads the battle against the Chapitos. As a consequence, Ciudad Obregón experiences a constant state of street blockades, shooting, kidnappings, and murders. This video shows sicarios assaulting the owner of a taco food truck as a consequence of his failure to pay taxes to the Caborca cartel. Ciudad Juarez served as the headquarters for the renowned Lord of the Skies, Amado Carrillo Fuentes. This Sinaloan kingpin gained notoriety for his extensive fleet of airplanes, which transported vast amounts of cocaine from Colombia to Chihuahua. Initially partnering with Pablo Escobar and later with the Rodriguez Orejuela brothers, Carrillo Fuentes led the Juarez cartel until his demise in 1997. Since those years, Ciudad Juarez, which borders El Paso, Texas, has become a hotbed for crime, from human smuggling to drug trafficking, extortion, kidnappings, car theft, and human trafficking. As the second largest Mexican city along the U.S. border, Ciudad Juarez has been embroiled in a relentless 20-year power struggle between the Juarez cartel and the Sinaloa cartel. Both groups have formed alliances with local gangs. The Juarez cartel collaborates closely with a faction known as La Línea and another gang called Barrio Azteca. Conversely, the Sinaloa cartel maintains an alliance with the ruthless Los Mexicles gang, which possess significant influence in Texas. Additionally, the Jalisco New Generation cartel has entered the battle for control over Ciudad Juarez, further intensifying the conflict. It is worth noting that Ciudad Juarez also serves as one of the primary entry points for migrants into the United States and has one of the highest rates of feminicides in the world. Securing the second spot on the list is Tijuana, the largest Mexican city bordering the United States and one of the busiest international checkpoints worldwide, facilitating the passage of approximately 48 million cars and trucks annually. This strategic location serves as a coveted gateway for drug trafficking into the United States, from makeshift tunnels to vehicles equipped with hidden compartments and drug mules. According to federal authorities, Tijuana is the primary crossing point for fentanyl into the U.S., and there are several groups fighting for this plaza. The Tijuana cartel, established by the Arellano Felix family, remains active and has formed an alliance with the Jalisco New Generation cartel to combat the Sinaloa cartel. On the other hand, two powerful factions loyal to El Mayo Zambada collaborate to bring down their enemies. One of them is led by Arzate brothers, while the other, known as Los Russos, is commanded by Jesus Alexander Sanchez Felix. The daily violence is also fueled by the increasing local consumption of drugs such as methamphetamine, prompting cartels to vie for control over street-level drug sales. Despite the Mexican government deploying hundreds of soldiers from the Mexican army on multiple occasions to suppress cartel violence, it appears that the criminal elements have already amassed a significant level of control over the city. This video shows a businessman in white shirt coming out from a convenience store and being attacked by a group of criminals who want to kidnap him. Seconds later, he is shot and the criminals quickly escape. In another video, a group of sicarios stop a car, force the people inside to get out, and set the vehicle on fire. These incidents of murder and roadblocks happen regularly in Celaya, which is considered the most dangerous city in Mexico and in the world. This violence stems from the rivalry between two criminal organizations. El Mencho, leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, instructed one of his key lieutenants, Audias Flores Silva, also known as El Jardinero, or the Gardener, to gain control of the entire state of Guanajuato. But they have faced strong opposition from the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel, which originated in a small town in Guanajuato and has expanded despite its leader El Maro being in prison. In Celaya, both cartels engage in extortion, control local alcohol and prostitution trades, and compete in the drug market. The city is grappling with a significant methamphetamine addiction problem, and the two groups use different colored drugs, blue and white, to mark their territories. Fuel theft from Pemex pipelines, known as huachicoleo, is another major source of income for both cartels in Celaya. Unfortunately, the city is extremely violent and is not recommended for tourists. This is Illicit Investigations. Subscribe now to our channel to go beyond the headlines.